Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today. Missing Florida teenager was killed and dismembered after meeting with a couple she had met on a dating app.
St. Petersburg police say a missing persons case turned into a kidnapping and homicide. Detectives collected evidence at a duplex on 27th Avenue North in St. Pete after police say a 16-year-old girl was beaten and killed inside.
Guns drawn, police threw them down on the ground, handcuffed them, put them in a cruiser. Ever since then, cops here 24/7 for 3 days.
35-year-old Stephen Gress is facing numerous charges, including kidnapping and first-degree murder. Officers say he met 16-year-old Miranda Corsette through a social media app on February 14th. She was then reported missing 10 days later.
On the 20th, at the house, there was some type of dispute over some missing jewelry. So from the 20th through the 24th, she was beaten and tortured because they could not find this piece of jewelry.
Chief Anthony Holloway says Gress then put her body in a car, and with the help of his domestic partner, Michelle Brandis, they drove her body to a home on Mallory Drive in Largo. Police say the teen's body was dismembered and then dumped in a dumpster in Ruskin.
And her body is somewhere, possibly in a landfill somewhere in that county.
The police chief says they are still working to locate that teen's missing body. Reporting in St. Petersburg, Julie Salmon, ABC Action News.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place in St. Petersburg, Florida, 16-year-old Miranda Corsette allegedly met with 35-year-old Stephen Gress on an online dating app. And after talking to him on an online dating app, she decided to meet him in person on Valentine's Day. And after she met him on Valentine's Day, she then went home and then the next day returned back to his home. And as she returned back to his home to stay with this man, she basically wound up leaving her 11-month-old child to go stay with this 35-year-old man and his 37-year-old domestic partner, Michelle Brandis. And as she was staying at the home, allegedly there was an argument over a missing piece of jewelry. And as there was an argument over this missing piece of jewelry, this is where the police are alleging that Stephen Gress murdered the 16-year-old Miranda Corsette, wound up dismembering her body, and then dumping her body in a dumpster. And most people wouldn't have known about it had it not been for her grandmother reporting her missing on February 24th. And after she wound up being reported missing, this is where members of the Guilford Police Department and the detectives there did an investigation as related to the online dating app that she had been on, and had been doing a whole investigation on it because this girl, Miranda Corsette, had been deeply troubled. She had been running away from home. She was a single mother, and basically the police knew about her, but as they did their investigation, they eventually wound up finding out that this guy, Stephen Gress, allegedly wound up getting into an argument over missing jewelry as she was beaten up. And eventually, as she was beaten up and tortured because they couldn't find this piece of jewelry, this is where Stephen Gress and his partner, Michelle Brandis, wound up allegedly murdering Miranda Corsette and winding up dismembering her body. And after finding out about this, this is where they wound up the police drove them to the place where the dumpster was, and now they're trying to find what happened to Miranda Corsette's body as they've taken Stephen Gress and his partner into custody and basically charged them with murder and kidnapping and charged them with this horrific crime. Now, the police in Florida see this as an isolated incident, But when I take a critical examination of the behavior of Stephen Gress and his partner Michelle Brandis, it definitely fits the pattern and profile of a beta male that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And when it comes down to his partner Michelle Brandis, it fits the pattern and profile of a woman in crisis, like I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis. And when I look at Stephen Gress's whole overall behavior, it also fits the pattern and profile of cyber simps that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And this whole incident basically is one of the things I talk about in a chapter of Stop Simping in Cyberspace about how online dating is extremely dangerous, because when it comes down to online dating, you don't know who is behind that screen. And that's the sad lesson that Miranda Corset wound up learning before she wound up losing her life. This 16-year-old girl, who was deeply troubled, basically, I believe, wanted to escape through the world of online dating and hoped that she could possibly find a man who would go out here and sweep her off her feet and take her away from the deeply troubling situations that she had that led to her running away from home and led to her running into the arms of a predator who preyed on her and eventually led to her becoming a teen mother. Unfortunately, this girl never really got to any sort of help. Her grandmother was trying to do something, but basically couldn't do anything because this girl basically was not really being given that foundation and structure that a child needs. And because she didn't get any of that foundation and structure that a child needs, basically this girl grew up like one of those children of the corn that I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis. And as she grew up like a child of the corn with no structure or order and no real supervision, she wound up going online and entering into the very dangerous world of online dating. And as Miranda Corset entered into the dangerous world of online dating, she wasn't aware of the real threats from predators online that are out there, because like many children who grew up with the internet, she basically grew up to believe that the internet was a safe place. However, the internet has never been a safe place, and one of the most dangerous places is online dating. These online dating apps in and of themselves are extremely dangerous because there are not good quality people on these online dating apps. No, when it comes to these online dating apps, they are filled with the dregs of society. They are filled with bottom feeders who are not interested in socializing with another person, but looking for an opportunity to prey on their next victim. And they looking to prey on their next victim because for these people, these are people at the bottom of society. But sadly, when it came down to the 16-year-old girl, she didn't understand how dangerous these dating apps are and the main reason why smart people go out here and avoid them. Now, anybody who is worth their salt avoids online dating apps because online dating apps are mostly a place where people who, again, are at the bottom of society go out here looking for someone to prey on, because when it comes to these people, they have serious issues. And since they have serious issues, many people, again, they can't go out into the real world and socialize with real people. They cannot go out here and socialize with a real person and have a healthy social interaction with a person, because people will go out here and read that person's nonverbal cues, such as their lack of eye contact, their lack of body language, their odd facial expressions, and the weird things that they say. That was an indicator to most people to avoid this individual in real life. So these people go online because they don't know how to function in the real world. So they go into cyberspace and create personas that they believe will be appealing to people. And sadly, what happened with deeply troubled teenager Miranda Corset is that she basically went on the internet again looking to escape to find a person who she hoped would basically help her out now that she was in this situation where she had become a teen mother. And instead of her finding that man of her dreams, she basically went online and found a man who made her life into an even worse nightmare than it currently was. Because 35-year-old Stephen Gress was a grown man, and this beta male basically was an individual who wasn't living in the real world with the rest of us. No, he was living in a place I call in my book, The Man Crisis, the secret world. And as he was living in the secret world, he was living in a place where he wanted to, again, suppress himself on the outside and have a smooth world where he was this guy out here, but secretly he was a man who had issues with his own natural masculinity and his own natural sexuality, and basically was out here looking for someone to exploit so that he could go out here and take advantage of them, because any healthy 35-year-old man will not be on online dating, especially if he has a partner. And if he has a partner, he's going to be committed to that relationship with that partner and taking care of that partner in that relationship. No, that's what a healthy man is going to do. But this guy wasn't healthy, and he was looking to prey on this teenager, hopefully, possibly, to participate in his sexual deviancy. That's what he was looking to do. He was looking to exploit this teenage girl, because any 35-year-old man who sees a teenage girl talking about wanting to come and meet with him, and that girl comes to his home, he's going to contact the police and let the police know that this minor needs to be taken back to their parents. That's what any healthy man is going to do. A man who runs into a teenager like this is going to want to look out for their safety and let people know, okay, this child basically is coming to me, and coming to me like this, saying that she wants me to, again, stay with me, and that's a problem, again, for any man. But this guy, again, he basically, again, wanted to exploit and take advantage of this girl, and that was shown by his behavior by letting this girl into their home. And after she got into their home, what happened when this home is that Michelle Brandis basically got jealous, and she got jealous because when it comes down to women, women get extremely jealous of women, other women in their home, because they nest in those homes. Moreover, they want to get the attention of that man, and that's what possibly led to the argument over the missing piece of jewelry. I don't believe that the jewelry was even missing. I believe what was happening here was Michelle Brandis, who was older than this man and possibly had insecurities about this relationship with this man. Basically, what she did was get real jealous of this girl coming into their home, and as this girl wound up coming into their home, this is where this woman's jealousy overtook her, and the girl wound up getting beaten. And as she was beaten and tortured over this piece of jewelry, this is where, sadly, this girl wound up losing her life. And as she wound up losing her life, this is where we see the depravity of this guy, Stephen Gress, and his girlfriend, Michelle Brandis, because instead of going out here and, again, when they first saw this girl, report her to the police so that they could take her back to her grandparents, what they did in an effort to make their world smooth was go out here and not only murder this girl, they wound up dismembering her body, and then wound up, after dismembering her body, dumping her in the trash like garbage, because they wanted to keep their world smooth. But as we saw the reality of their world, we see how sick and depraved these individuals are as related to this very disturbing alleged incident. A very disturbing alleged incident where this man and this woman worked together with malice aforethought to murder this girl over this piece of jewelry, then discard her body like nothing, because these predators basically were looking for someone to prey on. And again, I believe that in the case of the Stephen Gress, he was looking for someone to prey on so that he could sexually exploit her. And that didn't set well with this woman. Michelle Brandis was jealous of the attention this teenager was getting, and that's what led to this tragic murder. But this whole tragic murder basically is what happens basically when you go on platforms like online dating, and because online dating is not filled with healthy men, it's filled with these cyber simps. And again, these cyber simps don't live in the real world. No, they basically live in a very dangerous place. Again, I call the secret world. And as they live in the secret world, what they do is create an online persona. They create an online persona to make you believe that these men are somewhat attractive and appealing, and that this is something that happens with young people, especially teenagers. They don't understand how the world works, so these guys appear to be appealing to them, but they are a clear and present danger, and this is why you have to supervise your children when they're going online. And that's one of the things that many people are not taking seriously these days in this era of smartphones and tablet devices. You really have to supervise your children when they're on these tablets and smartphones. You have to see what apps they're having on their phones and their tablets, because while these personal devices, again, every kid says that they need them, you need to be able to have the passcode for those devices. Moreover, you need to find out what apps are on those devices, because no minor should be having any of these online dating apps, because these dating apps in and of themselves, again, this is a minor, again, they are underage, and when it comes down to these apps, these children should not be anywhere near them at all. No, children should not be anywhere near any of these online dating apps. They should not be there at all. And parents, you really have to understand how dangerous these apps are, because, again, there are no men and women of character on these apps. No, these are the worst people in society on these apps, and you have, in order to protect your children, you have to make sure that their phone and their computer doesn't have these apps on them, and teach them that regular people don't do online dating. Now, I know that there's this trend of people thinking, oh, I have to do online dating. No, you don't have to do online dating. No, if you want to learn about the world of courting and courtship and relationships, this is something that is done in a family and is done in the family where a person is going to meet the parents face to face. If you want your teenage children to go out here and date, what you have to do is do this in the structure of a home where you meet this boy or this girl, and you meet them so that you can make a critical assessment of them. That is how actual courtship actually works. You're supposed to go out here, and if that person doesn't want to meet with adults, then they don't go out here and you don't go out on a date with that person. That's just how it is, and that's how it was for many years before the feminist movement came along, and girls sadly started making their own choices. And as girls started making their own choices, sadly they weren't aware of the dangers around them. And sadly, in the case of Miranda Corset, she wasn't aware of the dangers around her. And this is a reason why you need someone there to, again, be able to meet with this individual, meet with them at your home face to face, or in a public location face to face. There needs to be another person there, especially in the case of a minor. When it comes down to teenage kids, you really need to be say that you insist that this person come to your home and meet your parents face to face, because they can read this person better than a teenager who knows nothing about people and knows nothing about these situations. Because when it comes down to, again, dating, this is something that's done face to face, and again, done face to face with people in your neighborhood. This is what many girls who are these days growing up online don't understand. You go out and meet with local people online. You don't go out here you don't go meeting people online. You go meeting people in your neighborhood. You don't go meeting people online, because online people can create all sorts of personas to make them look like something that they're not. They can make themselves look like something that they are not like. And sadly, what can happen is these girls can get lured in and preyed on by these predators. And sadly, that's what happened here in the case of this girl, Miranda Corset, a deeply troubled girl who was in crisis because if she was running away from home and living with her grandmother and the mother of an 11-month-old baby, this shows me that this girl was deeply troubled, and again, deeply troubled to the point where she didn't understand the dangers she was dealing with because, again, healthy girls go out here and can deal with the boys in their neighborhood and bring those boys back to their mother and father to talk to. That's what they can do in these situations, but this girl didn't do this, and sadly this girl is no longer with us, and an 11-month-old baby doesn't have a parent to take care of it anymore. No, what's happened here is a great tragedy all around, a great tragedy that basically was instigated because a man who was just sick and depraved basically went out here and preyed on this child and took this child's life. And now he basically is on the road from being a guy who, again, looked to exploit a teenager to winding up eventually getting what he deserves when he's exploited in the penitentiary by the guys such as Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, as they basically turn this dude's front side and backside out as they trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, packets of off-brand fruit punch, off-brand grape drink, or off-brand orange drink, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand apple juice, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand sugar wafers, Hunt snack pack puddings, Velveeta cheese, hot and sour pickles, beef summer sausages, and prison chips, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, and all of the items of the commissary such as soy sauce, duck sauce, sriracha sauce. I mean, they're gonna and hot fire balls and peppermint balls. I mean, they're gonna be in that penitentiary once they remember what he's done. Basically, turn this dude's out as they spit roast him, and then as they're spit roasting him, eventually they're going to turn out the front side and the back side, and Mr. Sprinkles is going to come in with a gleeful smile as he sprays both the front side and the back side with his special sauce. And after spraying the front side and the back side with the special sauce, this is where Mr. Sprinkles is going to call all the dudes from Cell Block D to come into the cell as he splits the cheeks open and shows this dude's backside looking like the inside of a Louisiana crunch cake. And I will have no sympathy for this male because what he and his so-called partner did was reprehensible, and he will deserve whatever suffering he gets in that penitentiary for taking the life of this child, who again was deeply troubled, and instead of him going out here and looking to protect this child, he looked to exploit this child, and that's what makes this male a monster. Because he made a situation where a girl in crisis, much more worse, and showed how sick and depraved he was because he just disposed of her body like garbage and went on to go on with his life to have his smooth world. So this is a sick and depraved individual, who shows the worst of not only a beta male man in crisis, but a cyber simp as well, and shows me that when you put a man in crisis in a situation around a woman or a teenage girl, he's not looking to lead those people but take advantage of them, and that's what makes these type of predators some of the most dangerous ones, and why it makes being on places like social media and dating apps very dangerous. And you have to be very careful and take people with a grain of salt. Because what you're seeing online is basically, when it comes to online dating, these are Dr. Jekylls who turn into Mr. Hydes when you meet them in real life. And this is why we have to be very vigilant about watching out for children online. This is something I'm very passionate about, because when it comes down to kids, they don't know about the dangers online, and we need to go out here and do more efforts to educate those children about the dangers online and teach them to avoid platforms like online dating, because there are no men on online dating. No, the only people there are desperate men who are men in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the predators that are lurking online, whether they be male or female, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and that book explains about the dangers of people who are online and why you shouldn't be dealing with people as related to online dating apps or people out here like online dating coaches or people like that. I identify most of these online predators so that you can avoid those predators. And a lot of young people, again, you need to understand how dangerous this internet is, and this book will explain it in depth, and explain it in depth so that you can look out for your safety, and also so your parents can look out for your safety. And this book is available in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com, and it's also available on online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, and other big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And $4.99 to $14.99 can save your life or your child's life with this book. And if you want to learn how to identify the behaviors of beta males and how dangerous they are, and learn how to avoid their behavior or help break someone out of this pattern of behavior, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to learn about Children of the Corn and the whole progression of dysfunction in Western women, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, at these online booksellers as well. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about the man crisis, the woman crisis, or cyber simps, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.